Delarada.
Here.
Councilwoman McGraw, absent. Councilman McPartlin.
Here.
Councilwoman Weber.
Here.
Supervisor Syed.
Here. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Councilman McPartlin. Okay. So before we get into the swing of things this evening, we're going to proceed the approval of the minutes with a very special promotion tonight. So if I could be joined at the front of the room by Chief McManus, Officer Party, and whoever else would like to join them up front. So family, please feel free to come, as well as Councilman McPartlin and myself. We'll say a few words and we'll read through the resolution.
Right up front with us.
I better take a slenderizing picture.
That's right. That's right.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, so first we'll read through the resolution. It's Resolution 2019-272, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to promote an officer in the Niskayuna Police Department as police sergeant.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this unanimously passes. So with that said, I would like to say a few words. Congratulations so much, Nick. It has been an honor to know you. My family and myself have known him for a number of years. He not only serves our town with dignity and honor, he serves our country as well. So I don't know if a lot of people know that, but he is a veteran. So we thank you so much for your service to our community and to our country. Congratulations.
So Nick, I just wanted to say congratulations. I know you've been with us since 2008. I think it's a great time in your career to step up into a leadership role and a supervisory role. So without any further ado, I'm going to present your wife with your sergeant's badge so someone can put it on your chest. Yeah. So you just got to undo that. Congratulations again. Oh.
Beauty.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So we're now going to move on to approval of the minutes. First, we have the minutes from the May 28th, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Are there any changes to the minutes or comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the meeting minutes of the May 28th, 2019 regular meeting minutes are approved. We next have the minutes of the June 11th, 2019 special meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any changes or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the meeting minutes of the June 11, 2019 special meeting of the town board are approved. We next have the meeting minutes of the June 20th, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve? I will make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes or comments? And I actually do have one change to the minutes where Leslie Gold stated about community choice aggregation. It should read, community choice aggregation should be an opt-in program, not an opt-out. Is that correct, Leslie? Okay, great. Are there any further changes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signified by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. Next, we have the minutes of the July 9th, 2019 special meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Lisa will second. Are there any changes or comments to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. Next, we have the minutes of the July 23rd, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. Next, we have the minutes of the August 27th, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any changes or comments to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And those minutes are approved. And lastly, we have the minutes of the September 24th, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any changes or comments to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And those minutes are approved.
Okay. Before we go on, I would like to comment on an issue that we did have come up in recent months with the minutes. We did have a political group come and make a statement several months ago in which they had requested that their entire statement be included in the minutes, and they have been included in the minutes. They were put on the website. It did raise an interesting question for us. This hadn't happened in recent memory, and the question was parity and precedent. It was an issue of parity because other people who had spoken on privilege of the floor did not have their entire statement put into the record, and also precedent as to what precedent this would set for moving forward. Because of this issue, we had asked our Deputy Town Attorney, Alexis Kim, to ask for an opinion from the Committee on Open Government, and she did. She got an opinion, and we received that opinion, and I would ask that our Town Attorney, Paul Bray, read that opinion into the record, because there may be some changes in the future with the minutes. That is something that we are considering, but I think that everybody should be aware of this opinion that the town has received. Thank you.
At recent town board meetings, the issue of meeting minutes has been raised as concerns the inclusion in the minutes of statements, oral and written, made during privilege of the floor. In that minutes of open meetings of a public body are addressed in New York open meetings law, my office, through Deputy Town Attorney Alexis Kim, requested an advisory opinion from the Committee on Open Government. We've received that opinion on October 8th, 2019. Open Meeting Law, Section 106, provides in relevant part, minutes shall be taken at all open meetings of a public body which shall consist of a record or summary of all motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally voted upon and the vote thereon. Robert's Rules of Order, under which the town conducts its town board meetings, provides that not only is it not necessary to summarize matters discussed at the meeting in the minutes of that meeting, it is improper to do so. Robert's Rules of Order further provides that minutes are a record of what was done at a meeting, not a record of what was said. Based on the opinion from the Committee on Open Government that as long as the requirements of open meeting law section 106 are met, and that the meeting minutes need not consist of a verbatim account of everything that is said, is my recommendation to the supervisor and the town board that it adopt a policy consistent with the Committee on Open Government's advisory opinion. I recommend that the town board notify the public that comments made during privilege of the floor will not be included as part of the meeting minutes. Written comments will be accepted for review, but will not be included in the minutes. Instead, the minutes will simply identify the name and address of each speaker.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to a presentation by our town planner, Laura Robertson, regarding our ADA plan, our ADA transition plan for pedestrian facilities within the public right-of-way. So thank you very much, Laura.
Yeah. Alexis Kim is probably going to jump up here and help me as well. She has a lot to do with this plan as well. So I wanted to remind everybody that we had adopted an interim ADA transition plan on March 26, 2019, and essentially that plan just laid out what we needed to do to move forward with the plan that we're proposing to be adopted now. So this is in continuation of that one that we had seen on March 26th. And the purpose of the ADA transition plan is to ensure that the town of Niskayuna creates reasonable, accessible paths of travel on sidewalks, shared use paths, and curb ramps in the public right-of-way for everyone, including individuals with disabilities. So what the plan it does is identify the barriers to accessibility for individuals with disabilities and prioritizes improvements that should be made throughout the town in order to increase ADA compliance of public facilities. And it's a specific law that has been around, and Alexis probably jump in here, I think since 2011, Title II, Section 8, and it requires public entities to adopt a transition plan that includes the following components: identification of physical barriers to accessibility, identification of methods to remove said barriers, schedule of completion, and the name of the ADA coordinator. So those are kind of the 4 pillars of our ADA transition plan. We inventoried 133 intersections in the town of Niskayuna for curb ramps and 243 blocks of sidewalks and shared use path, and rated them on their accessibility and current compliance with the ADA. The Mohawk Hudson Bikeway was not evaluated. We're not 100% sure that it is covered under the ADA transition plan, and we also didn't have time. So that may be something that we cover in the future. The results show that the majority of our sidewalks and shared use paths are accessible but need improvement or not very accessible. So from those inventory results, we've prioritized which pedestrian facilities are in need of improvement. The ADA plan, hopefully you guys know, it was posted on the website. We had it available at Town Hall. It has a prioritized list of pedestrian facilities most in need of improvement. It was just a mathematical computation of all the work that was done over the summer. And we've created a schedule of improvements to address these deficiencies over a 35-year period. The cost estimates seem very high. We figured it's better to be conservative, but we also we looked at all the other towns, and we reached out to the Capital District Transportation Committee. And essentially we used their cost estimates that they had derived from recent bike pedestrian projects in order to calculate what the cost of coming into ADA compliance for our public facilities was. So I just wanted to highlight a couple things in our plan. The majority of the sidewalks were rated either a 2 or a 3, which, as I said before, means partially accessible, but there are problems, or accessible and may need additional improvements. There are some areas that are not accessible, and there are very few areas that are fully compliant with current standards. As far as the curb ramps go, 96 of them are non-compliant. That may seem a little ridiculous when you're just looking at it. Unfortunately, it's either in or out, and there's something like 20 different things that we evaluate curb ramps on. And if they're missing one thing, then they fail. And it's just, there's so many different measurements on curb ramps, and it's kind of a moving target that even if it's a relatively good curb ramp, it may still fail. So it's not, I'm not understating the problem. There's definitely curb ramps out there that need to be fixed, but the pie chart is, maybe it covers up the fact that, you know, there's a gradient of the curb ramps, but as for the purposes of the ADA construction plan, it is either in or out. So I wanted to, I wanted to highlight that it's a 35-year period. We took it in chunks. We would expect that we'd have to review and update the ADA transition plan on a 7-year cycle. So we developed a proposed 7-year implementation plan. The first 7 years we looked at would probably be about $89,000 per year. But there is grant money and ways that we can get assistance on that. It's kind of a large number. And then I also just wanted to highlight, there's some maps. The majority of the sidewalks that really do have problems, probably not a surprise to anyone, is the very, very old sidewalks in Old Niskayuna between like Regent and Myron and the Plaza. And the reason that a lot of these fail is because they just stop. So, and you can tell you're walking along, all of a sudden the sidewalk stops and it becomes yard, and there's even like herd trails through the yard, but there's no sidewalk anymore. That's obviously not accessible for someone with disabilities. So Old Niskayuna has very thin sidewalks as well, and they're very patchy. So so the appendix on page 11 starts the priority list of blocks. What we basically did is we looked at the ones that were in the top of not being accessible, and we tried to spread out what we would do in terms of geographically so that there would be some benefit to as much of the Niskayuna population as we could reach. So the first thing that we would want to do is that there's some chunks of sidewalk in Route 7 that are missing, which is a barrier to the ADA transition plan, but probably pretty easy to fix. They also rate very, very highly because there's such high traffic on those roads. So that would be the first thing we'd aim to do. Then the block on Palmer, that one is very close to the Van Antwerp Middle School. So there's a lot of benefit to upgrading that one and making it ADA accessible. Same is true of Story Ave. And then we tried to move a little bit outside of Old Niskayuna to North Country Club, which also could use some upgrades to its sidewalks. We did identify a project that we'd like to go after for a grant, which would be Grand Boulevard. Unfortunately, the ADA plan doesn't give you credit for building new sidewalks. They just have to be compliant when you build new ones. So if we got a grant to complete all the sidewalks in Grand Boulevard and make it a single corridor that makes a whole lot of sense, we would only get credit for fixing the sidewalks that exist there. But it's still a good plan to take a look at, and there's a lot of foot traffic on Grand Boulevard. Alexis, did you want to say anything about the legal requirements?
So, hi everyone. Just to clarify, so the ADA transition plan, it just applies to the sidewalks, curb ramps, and shared use paths in the public right of way, so on town property. We've already always had obligations to make our facilities ADA accessible. In 2012, effective 2015, the ADA, the DOJ through ADA regulations, that's where we imposed an affirmative obligation to plan for how the municipalities will make existing sidewalks, curb ramps, and shared use paths accessible moving forward. So that's why the scope of this transition plan is limited to those 3 areas. So where we have an actual affirmative obligation to make sure that identified non-compliant sidewalks, curb ramps, or shared use paths are ADA compliant is when we're making alterations to those structures or uses, not just simply snow removal or patching a pothole, but when we are resurfacing beyond normal maintenance, reconstruction, rehabilitation, widening, and traffic signal installation. Those are activities that we would have an affirmative obligation to ensure that whatever we're doing ensures ADA compliance for sidewalks, shared use paths, and curb ramps. So logistically, we're going to have to make sure that we have really an open line of communication between planning, the ADA coordinator, which is designated as myself, and highway, so that it's easily identifiable when a certain activity would need to make sure that it's falling within these very specific technical standards set forth by the DOT. One issue is that there's not, as Laura mentioned, there's not funding necessarily, but the ADA transition plan must state our schedule of how we're going to implement removing these barriers to access to public facilities. That said, although the scope of the plan is 35 years, we said we can't project 35 years how we're going to make those alterations. Even just looking into next year, it would be difficult we didn't have enough time to even make a request for the budget. So we're thinking that we'll look at it in 7 years forward. Here's our goals for 7 years. That said, I think our transition plan says that in 2019, we were going to dedicate $89,000 towards ADA compliance. I think that is not feasible. We would need to update this draft plan to say that would start in 2020. That said, with Knott Street improvement, that would be an opportunity where, since we have grant money, and if we go forward, if Schenectady County goes forward with that, that's a widening of a street. So that would directly fall within our requirements under CFR. That would be opportunity for us to make several identified areas of non-compliant sidewalks compliant and satisfy our obligations. Additionally, the significance of having an ADA coordinator is that we have now established a formal grievance procedure for when somebody complains that a public facility is not accessible for people with disabilities. That's set forth in the plan. It requires, among other things, it requires a written decision within 60 days that an individual has a right to appeal. That said, people should be aware that in attending town board meetings, even if it doesn't have to do with the sidewalk or just has to do with accessing any town building or service, that they should feel free to reach out to myself or to town attorney Paul Briggs and request reasonable accommodations. And if they do so within 24 to 48 hours notice, the town must make reasonable efforts to make those accommodations. If anyone has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to Laura or I. We're not trying to rush into adopting a plan that we don't think we're feasibly going to be able to meet these obligations. And there is a requirement that we list within our plan all of the ways in which we sought public input on the plan. So maybe this is the beginning of a conversation of how we can improve it. But that said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. I don't know if Laura wants to follow up. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So with that presentation on the ADA plan, we're going to move into our public hearing on the ADA plan. So will the clerk please call the public hearing?
A public hearing on the proposed ADA transition plan for pedestrian facilities within the right-of-way, public right-of-way.
Thank you. So the public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to speak during the public hearing, you can do so now. Please approach the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Kevin Walsh, 2843 Whitmire Drive, and identify myself as chairman of the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board. I just want to thank Laura Robinson and Ms. Kim for their hard work on this plan. It's very important. But I also recall that I believe there was a summer intern that worked on this, and I want to make sure the name got out there. Who was it? Brian Toy. So I did see at least a draft of the plan during one of our committee meetings, and it was a very well-developed plan and a lot of hard work there. So I just want to make sure he got some recognition also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, Brian did all of this work. Brian Toy.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. Thank you. The public hearing is still open. If you would like to speak, you can do so now. And once again, the public hearing is open. If you would like to speak, you can do so now. And last call on the public hearing. If you would like to speak, you can do so now. Okay, seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing. Before we move to privilege of the floor, I do see all of our Art Out participants. So I'm going to actually move us into our ceremonial resolution on the Art Out. And that's ceremonial resolution 2019-259. Will the clerk please read?
A ceremonial resolution honoring the participants and winners of the 2019 Niskuna Art Out event.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to call all those artists up to receive their resolution. You have copies?
We have one from the winner, right?
Yep, please join us at the front.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read to you the resolution. It's in my book. And then we will have individual copies on the way to you. Give me a minute. We usually have the individual copies. Here we go. I'm going to go grab my. First of all,
It was on.
hello? Yeah. Okay. No, it's good. Okay. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank our town's very own Edie Canizzo for organizing this wonderful event every year. She works for our recreation department in the senior center. And this year she had a very challenging job because it was the hottest weekend of the year when this event was first scheduled to take place in the summer. And she had to make the very quick decision at the last minute to reschedule because she didn't want her participants to evaporate in the heat. And so she rescheduled it to October, early October, thinking it was going to be beautiful, and it ended up being a little bit chilly. But our intrepid artists did a fantastic job. If you look all around the room, you will see their beautiful art work that they have completed in one weekend from scenes in Lions Park. Now, this is all artwork representing our beautiful town. So I'd like to just quickly read this resolution and congratulate all of them. The winner does get to have her painting featured on the town supervisor's holiday card. So everyone who receives a holiday card will get to see that beautiful piece of artwork. So whereas the Office of Community Programs oversees the Niskuna Art Out event, which brings together local artists to create artwork in an outdoor setting, fostering the local artist community. And whereas the 9th annual Art Out event, local artists convened at Lions Park on Rosendale Road and had from Friday, October 4th until Saturday, October 6th to create in plein air artwork. Am I saying that right?
Mhm.
On October 6th, 2019, artists participating in the Art Out event submitted original artwork at the Niskuna Town Hall for display in the boardroom and review by a panel of judges. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this town board, on behalf of the residents of the town of Niskuna, does hereby recognize and thank the artists listed below for participating in the 9th annual Niskuna Art Out event, fostering the local artist community, allowing residents to enjoy and benefit from the display of accessible artwork at Town Hall, and promoting town culture through the creation of artwork highlighting Lions Park. And be it further resolved that the town clerk, on behalf of the town board, is authorized and directed to present the participants listed below with a copy of the resolution. So we have Susan Barzak won the grand prize. So she'll have her artwork featured on the holiday card. Marion Leap won first place. Laura Lee Laura Lee Lipsky, 1 second place. Deb Carpenter, 1/3 place. And our other participants were Jack Berkery, Carol Warburton, and Carol Farrell. And they also produced very beautiful artwork. It was a very hard competition to judge. And please, before you leave this evening, take a look at this artwork. It's beautiful. Oh, there's also some more. Also, Shelley Nevard and Macaulay Canizzo, Edie's daughter, who also participated, and Edie Canizzo herself. They also participated, although they were not eligible to win, but they participated anyway. So we do thank them for bringing their talents here to our town. So thank you very much. And we'll get those copies of the resolution to you.
Thank you all, and congratulations to our winner, Susan Barzak. And so we did have a motion and a second on that resolution. So I'll wait for Lisa to get back, and then we'll actually call the roll on that resolution. Will the clerk please call the roll on Resolution 2019-259?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. So congratulations to you all. We're now going to open privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is now open. If you would like to speak during privilege of the floors, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tom Hodgkins, and I live on Rosendale Road. I was interested in this. Tom Hodgkins. Interested in this opinion from the Committee on Open Government, which is provides explanation of what an interpretation of what the statute says, but that doesn't mean that you can't go beyond that. I'm fairly sure that the town of Colony hires a stenographer and they have a complete transcription of all their meetings. And I think that's brilliant. So you can do the minimum or you can do the maximum and have a complete transcription. I think that's a great way to go. And that way everybody knows if somebody doesn't want to listen to it or watch it at double speed on YouTube, they can, just read it. So it's an advice, but you don't have to follow it. You can go the completely different direction. So, but I appreciate the time that everybody took to reach out to them. I have a few comments about the budget process. I've worked with a lot of budgets, a lot of state budgets, so I'm very familiar with what works and what doesn't work and what could be more helpful for people to help understand and kind of move forward with this. So I have a couple kind of structural suggestions for how to facilitate the budget process in the town. I would suggest that you have more textual explanations for each the budget categories. Just kind of provide some highlights. So instead of having the department heads, come and give their presentations, you can have that incorporated into the budget document itself. And I think you would potentially save a lot of time. You have like a standard form that the supervisor would submit to all the department heads. They would fill it out electronically and explain all of their requests, and that could be used as part of the budget document. And that way, it's just kind of easier to read some of the highlights. And if you look at some other municipal budgets, that's sort of done, state budgets, that sort of thing. So I think that might be helpful. Another thing that I had trouble with this document is because I'm used to looking at closeouts for the current fiscal year. So like this, I think even tonight you have budget modifications. So there's frequently budget modifications throughout the year. So, but the only thing there's a column, and this is really wonky stuff, but there's a column for adopted budget, but there's a lot of modifications and it's always different. Whatever is adopted is not what actually happens. There's a lot of modifications. It's very different. So it'd be nice, and the comptroller has done it before, I guess. I was talking with him. But you just close out the expected year, what are the expected revenues, what are the expected expenditures, and that way you can look at more up-to-date numbers, and then you can go from there. Another structural thing is, just kind of you have it posted in PDF, post it in an Excel file. Actually, I think the PDF is one of the PDFs I was looking at was not searchable, which is more troublesome. But then just post an Excel file. Like the state comptroller has an Excel file with, their each month they have their cash basis reports. You go through and you can play around with all the numbers yourself and do, shares of total and growth rates and trends, and you can do whatever you want. And that just makes it a lot easier for people to manipulate the data if they are so inclined. A comment about the yard waste fee. So there's some reserves being used for the yard waste fee because the expenses do not cover the yard waste fee. So I support making the yard waste service fee match the expenses. I do not believe reserve should, and I think a lot of budget professionals would agree with me, that reserve should be used to pay for a service. So just as long as you match the fee to the service, but otherwise, if you backfill it with the tax cap, then you're going to be making people who don't use a service, or people who pay for a professional landscaper to do everything for them, you'd be making them pay. Those people are going to be paying twice, and then people who don't use it are going to be paying for it. So, I really think it just needs to be self-funded, and I think that's the same thing with the water fee. It should be self-funded. That hasn't been raised, and I haven't looked at that in depth, but it hasn't been raised in like 4 years. Now you're going to be filling that with reserves again. A lot of times fees are tied to inflation, so you can increase slowly over time the fees. So you build up. You're not going to be using reserves to pay for the expenses that are covering a budget gap. So that way you're not going to have to spike the rates, the water rates. It's been at 250 or whatever. There's a couple different components to it, but you're not going to be spiking that up once you need to do a whole bunch of service on it, or you have a large deficit. You don't need to use the reserves. I was also looking at sales tax because I noticed that so the county doesn't have to give us anything, right? That's their right. It's their money, but they do give us something, and the share that they have been giving us has been declining. So I'm just playing around with some numbers today. So if you look at this is 2011. We are getting 10.9% of the share that the county gave to municipalities, and then it's been declining slowly, and now we're at 10% of the share of the total amount that they give to municipalities. So we are getting treated less and less fairly by the county. Another way to look at that is the growth rate. So there's, sales tax grows each year, and the growth that we get is a lot less than the county keeps and the county distributes to other municipalities. So it's the same sort of trend that Niskuna is down here in the red. We get a much lower share of the growth of sales taxes than the county keeps for itself, and all the total municipalities, that's the other light blue line, all those other municipalities receive. So if you looked at it, I used to read a lot of tax law. I read all the sales taxes and looked at all the sales tax distributions for all the other different counties, and some of them have per capita distribution for the municipalities. They give whatever share to municipalities, and they give it to each municipality based on per capita. So how many people are in the town? So we have 14% of the share of people in Schenectady County, and we get it used to be at 10.9% in 2011. Now it's 10%. So if you say, okay, if you did it on a per capita basis, this is hypothetical. You would it's a reflection of this same sort of thing is going on, but that gap, because we're for 14%, so the gap between 14% and 10% is 1.32 million. So that's a lot of money. So I know that's going to be negotiated. I know you guys will have a role in it, but I think this is all things that helpful information that would help the policy discussions and what kind of future you want to stand with and support at the county level. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Linda Rizzo. I live at 22 and 29 Fairlawn Parkway, Niskayuna, of course. I have a few issues I want to discuss. I rarely come to the meetings because I'm very busy with my own business and life, etc. But I've decided maybe it's time that I come and say something. First of all, I do want to address the issue of taxes. Now, I understand it's an election year, and I understand when it's an election year, we go out and crow about, oh, we didn't raise your taxes. Oh, they didn't go up at all. Oh, we maybe only raised them 1%. The problem is this: they're already too high. You're not solving anything. I mean, you created the problem, they're already too high, and then you tell us that you're lowering the taxes or keeping them the same way, and somehow we get $80 more in our pocket and we're supposed to clap like seals and say, oh, that's wonderful. It's a double-edged sword here. We are, as a town, over-assessed. That's a fact. It's been in the paper. Our properties are over-assessed. I've known this for years. And anyone that can add 2 and 2 knows this. This has been going on for years. We've been cited for this in Schenectady County, the county and Niskayuna. So we know we're over-assessed. A house that I live in this town, it's a nice house, but the square footage of that house, a 1,600 or maybe 1,700 square foot house, someplace else would be a lot less assessed. So that's one of our main problems. We're over-assessed. So what I'm saying is, if you want to reduce taxes and you reduce them by 5 or 6%, believe me, then you can crow about it, and I'll be the first to come here and say congratulations. Because the taxes didn't get this high just recently. This is an incremental thing. And another thing is it's the school taxes combined. Now, granted, we get good services, and I'm not going to say that as a resident we don't for our town taxes, but our school taxes are also drowning people. And the problem with that is we think that's wonderful because, we have the best school district. My profession is education, and I can tell you, yes, it's a good school district, but so is North Colony, so is Guilderland, so is little old Voorheesville. And as a consultant, I have been in other districts, and I've got to tell you, they're also good districts, and their people are not bleeding to death with taxes. So, the district uses this argument, oh, if you don't vote for our budget, Chicken Little, the sky's going to fall, and the children are going to not get an education. That is simply BS. And I'm saying this as a professional. I know budgets. I know town budgets, and I know school districts' budgets. I can read them. I can do them. And I'm telling you, there's fat in any budget. And anyone that tells me there's no fat is lying. That's the bottom line. So getting to that point, I'm going to be very honest with you as a resident. This is why I am against mingling school district with town board. I'm very much against it, running people for office. I think there should be a moratorium. If you're on the school board, you should have to wait at least 2 years before you can run for public office, because that you're supposed to be a public servant. You don't get paid. And if you have your eye on a political office, then you're going to be making political decisions. And political decisions are not good for the children, they're not good for the parents, and they're not good for the taxpayers. And I have been opposed to that from the get-go. And I have even spoken to Supervisor Syed about that, even in her office, and she knows that's true. I was not in favor of putting in an administrative assistant from who's on the school board. We don't need their problems on the town board, and we don't need the problems they created on the county board. And that's exactly what we're going to get. And anybody running for the school board who says, as one person did, and I don't think I'm misquoting her, that's on the school board, who's running for town council. Well, Niskayuna, for people that are of low income, or not low income, but maybe, they're not going to get any more raises. Well, they can't really afford to live in Niskayuna, so we should build senior apartment houses and to have them live there. Excuse me? I mean, this is a Marie Antoinette moment for me. Let them eat cake? No, our senior citizens have a right to live in their homes. Just because you think you're going to come to the town board and start raising taxes, I'm sorry, they have a right to live in their homes. They have a right to live with dignity. And yes, you can make it lower their taxes so they don't have to move out. And to think that these people want to just live in Niskayuna for the privilege of living in Niskayuna is crazy. They could go to North Carolina, South Carolina, get a bigger home and pay 60% less in taxes. So I find it offensive to say that, yes, if your income, is not going up and you're retired and you're on a pension, probably the taxes in Niskayuna are too high for you. That to me is not an answer. Sorry, but that's where I come from, my background. My next thing is going to be this. I have a problem about not accepting election results. Now, I haven't said anything for 2 years. I've been very quiet and very good. But 2 years ago, I worked my tail off for Joe Landry. I liked him. I thought he was a great supervisor. Don't have a heart attack, Lorraine. I thought he was a great supervisor. I love him as county chair, and I would like to have seen him sitting in that seat. But guess what? The voters voted in Supervisor Syed. They spoke on election day. And from where I'm sitting, the only thing I've seen is gridlock. The day that this woman got elected, even though I would have preferred Joe to have gotten elected, the day that Ms. Syed got elected was, we are going to continue on our same path. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. That's not good for the town. Gridlock is not good for the town of Niskayuna. And I'm saying that as a Democrat. Now, I may be a Democrat who's a moderate, I'm fiscally conservative, and I'm pro-life, but I am a Democrat. And guys, you need people like me in your party. Because I'm going to tell you straight out, a party that just leans one way is going to fall over. You need balance. So my concern is we've had gridlock for 2 years. I don't think Mr. Syed, the supervisor, deserved it. Arguments on everything. And again, I'm telling you, I worked my tail off for Joe, and I did want him to get elected. But I respect the voters' wishes. When they spoke, they spoke. And if I was sitting up there, I would have given her full cooperation for the good of the town, not for my rising star someplace. So I just wanted to bring that up. And the other thing I'm going to say that bothers me, I don't want to hear Trump's name mentioned in this election. Trump has nothing to do with Syed or anybody else running. I don't think he could find Niskayuna on the map if you showed it to him. He doesn't care about Niskayuna. we have a disease infiltrating the Democratic Party called seeking out Russian assets. We have a Clinton-esque type of person, Clinton calling Tulsi Gabbard a Russian agent, her own party, but now she's a Russian agent. We're looking for all these excuses. I am sure Trump is not going to come and upset this election. I don't think the Russians are going to come and do it. And Miss Syed, Supervisor Syed, are you a Russian agent?
I am not.
Good. We got that out of the way. So we can move on. My other point is this, and I want to say this, and I don't, I want to embarrass anyone, but I really want to thank Rob Hess for his time as town attorney. I'm going to tell you something. I've spoken to some attorneys, both Democrats and Republicans, and they have told me this man is a man of integrity, a straight shooter, honest as the day is long. And, he's done a lot for the Democratic Party. And if what happened to him, anything can happen to anybody. I think it was a shame. It was wrong. And I feel very bad and embarrassed that this happened to someone who spoke his mind. So who knows what's going to happen to me next? No, it's true. I find this very disturbing. I have. The next thing my last point is, Michelle Martinelli has been our town clerk. And, she has been really very bipartisan in that office. I mean, she has not played politics at all. And, she's been unfairly criticized for the minutes, and yes, she admitted they have been delayed. But I also know that Michelle Martinelli suffered some major losses in her family through death, 2 parents within a short period of time. That would delay anybody maybe concentrating on the minutes. Life happens to you. Life happens to people. And when you can't be compassionate towards someone that has gone through that, then I have little tolerance. And, delaying the minutes did not help Michelle Martinelli. I don't know why you were delaying. You were waiting for something from the open meetings law. Now, I have dealt with the Open Meetings Department. I've dealt with the committee that deals with that many times. I have spoken, I hate to mention his name, but Bob Friedman, hundreds of times. I know all about those laws. And I know, not including what's said at privilege of the floor, they didn't say you can't do it. That's your decision. So please don't blame it on the open committee for government and say that they told you not to include privilege of the floor. That is your decision. They give advice, they give recommendations. And as I said, I'm pretty familiar with the open meetings laws, and I have dealt with that department many times. So I just wanted to clarify that. Please don't make that clear. You're doing it because you don't want to include privilege of the floor. Not because they told you not to include it. They would not tell you that. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I have a PhD in something else, but I'm telling you, I know that for a fact. So that's all that I have to say tonight, and I probably won't be back again for another 6 months. But please, gridlock is bad. You do not do that to a town government because you want to run or do something else. You want to promote yourself. It's not good. If you don't agree with someone, say it at the table. But when you're arguing about stuff that's meaningless, when people that speak up wind out of a job, a good lawyer, then there is a problem here. Okay, it's a problem. And I don't want to see this town board run in a totalitarian fashion. I'm sorry. This is America, not Russia. And I am not a Russian agent. So I'm going to conclude with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Rizzo, you are a hard act to follow. I'm going to call you Dr. Riz the Wiz. I agree with you, Ms. Martinelli. I'm sorry you've had a very tough year. My heart goes out to you. And I know that was a part of the reason why some of the minutes have been delayed, although it is not the entire reason. Also, the town could have appointed an assistant to do those minutes while you were taking care of family business. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. Point 1. Once again, I am concerned to see that the board is 4 months behind in approving and publishing minutes from past board meetings. This has been an issue all year long, and at one point, the backlog was way back to September of last year. I am also concerned that the board has multiple times withheld the approval from a few minutes, saying that Mr. Delarada did not have a chance to see the minutes. The entire board does not have to approve the minutes in order for them to be made available to the public. In fact, according to the Committee on Open Government, because I do my research as well, the board does not have to approve the minutes at all for them to be made available to the public. The executive director of the Committee on Open Government said in a letter to a town clerk who was asking for clarification, quote, "There is nothing in the open meetings law or any other statute of which I am aware that requires that minutes be approved," unquote. Also, according to the committee and the executive director, it is the responsibility of the town clerk to make the minutes available within 2 weeks from the date of such meetings. That's a quote, within 2 weeks from the date of such meetings. The executive director also said, quote, "It is unlikely, in my view, that a town board has the authority to require exclusion of information from minutes of an open meeting." Quote. Second quote, "You, in your position as town clerk, have the responsibility and authority to prepare minutes and to ensure their accuracy," unquote. The town clerk is an elected position, and as such, she or he works for the residents of the town rather than working for the board. New York State open government law allows residents to attend all open meetings, and the First Amendment allows us to record those. So if we find in the future that there are no minutes being presented or with lack of information, we can come to all the committee meetings and record those ourselves. So to make it clear, Ms. Martinelli, it is your direction of when to post which meeting minutes with how much full information is in there. And at the end of this talk, I will be submitting my comments to you and hoping that you, in your position, will add those to the meeting minute document. Point 2, at the budget meeting held yesterday, the board discussed the possible projected revenues from the acceptance of waste at the wastewater treatment facility. Over the past 2 years, Councilwoman McGraw, Councilman McPartlin, and Councilwoman Weber have repeatedly claimed that there would be only one truck delivering waste to the facility. They made these claims in small committee meetings, at board meetings, and also in articles in the newspaper. All along, I have been reminding people that ESG, the company who is coordinating this project, told residents that the ultimate number of trucks traveling on our narrow dead-end street would be 10 to 12 per day, meaning 20 to 24 passes as those trucks arrive and then leave. I have spoken repeatedly at small committee meetings, board meetings like this, and to the press, and telling them that the claim of just one truck, quote unquote, was only for the first pilot program. But as soon as the town received their permit from the DEC, the plan was to increase the number of trucks to meet a full capacity of waste processing and therefore a full capacity of revenue generation. Yesterday at the budget meeting, board members discussed increasing the number of contracts with businesses so that they could bring in more waste product in order to collect more revenue. They also indicated that the trucks bringing the waste product would carry 6,800 gallons. We have asked repeatedly for accurate information about the proposed trucks. At first, we were given no information at all. Then we were told that the town would try to hold back the size of the trucks, make the businesses keep those trucks at only 5,000 gallons as the size of the truck. But lo and behold, trucks for this purpose don't really come in that size. So we were then told that the trucks would carry 6,500 gallons. Yesterday, the town discussed that the trucks will actually carry 6,800 gallons. So this is what the trucks look like, and this is without the cab attached. This is the type of truck that will be coming up and down the road. 6,800 gallons. We'll leave that there. If the revenue budget line sits at a proposed $530,000 of revenue from the treatment facility, there will need to be 8 trucks per day, meaning 16 passes down the road per day. If the budget is modified, which was discussed yesterday, to $350,000, and that's the minimum guarantee by the ESG company, there will need to be 5 trucks per day, meaning 10 passes up and down the street. Now, residents must realize, and the town board must realize, that these trucks will be most likely traveling along Route 7. They're not allowed to go on Rosendale Road because of weight restrictions. Then turning down Balltown Road, passing by the co-op, then turning at the GE Circle to travel along River Road to finally make it to my street, Whitmire Drive. We residents have consistently said that green energy and reuse of waste products is an important thing to do to protect the environment. We acknowledge that. We have, however, objected to the way in which this project is being handled and the lack of proper planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess it's my turn.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Were you in
You want-
line? No, 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 no.
You don't have to be
Go.
on, you
No.
can just wander up at any time.
Hi, my name is Michael Klett. I live at 3554 Console Road, Niskayuna, Schenectady, New York, actually. That's the way it's been ever since I lived there, 12304. I don't know how to really start this, but my wife's family's lived in the house we've lived in for over, her aunt bought it, her uncle and aunt bought it in 1945 after he got back from World War II. And it's been in the family ever since then. I don't want to drag this out, but I'm kind of new at this again. I lived here for 30 some odd years. Then I moved to Princetown. I asked my daughter if she wanted to buy our house because we couldn't sell it. The traffic is totally ridiculous. The speeding is ungodly. So she said she'd lived there and she was going to buy the house. So for 11 and a half years, I lived in Princetown. I love Princetown. I could come out of my driveway, look to the left, look to the right, and if there was a car coming, they weren't speeding. I don't know if it's maybe because of the area, people tend to agree with each other. You know, we live here, we don't want to get killed. So that was great. And then my daughter, when I finally pushed her, I said, "Are you going to buy the house or not?" She said, "Dad, I can't." She had 3 kids of her own, and she could not live there anymore. She couldn't get out of her driveway. She was always afraid of the kids coming out to the mailbox to get the mail because, you know, kids want to do things. So we had to move back to Console Road last December. Since then, I'm kind of bouncing around. I try not to, but when I lived there back in the whatevers, I lost a son to Console Road. It was really hard. And there's a gentleman back there, Lieutenant, that really worked hard to keep the speeders down on Console Road. He sat at Stewart's. He sat across from my house. He sat at Stewart's at the other end of Consall Road, and he made one big difference. I also asked you, Farley, to intercede with me to maybe get the state police to come up if there wasn't enough Niskuna police people to maintain the road. He sent a sergeant, staff sergeant, sat at my house for 20 minutes, and he came up to me and he goes, "I'm going to go talk to the police chief. You have a problem here." I said, "Thank you." And they did. And in the meantime, it's a county road, so Schenectady County got involved. So I asked Schenectady County if there's a problem with the police. Nothing against the Niskuna Police Department, but it seems to be this board here that's the problem. The police want to do their jobs. They just are overwhelmed. They just can't stop people on my road. I have people that have told me that I can't walk the road. I'm 69 years old now. I can't run out of the way. I tried to go across the road to go for a walk, and I had this guy come down the road. I bet you I can say I can look at a car and basically tell how fast they're going. When they're not going 30, I can tell. He come down over the hill, and I had to try and run across the road just to go for a walk. Started laughing, went like this, and hollered, "Get out of my way." And you know why he could do it? It's because they can. You guys are not doing your jobs. You're not coming out to my street. I don't know where any of you guys live. I told you where I live. Why don't you tell me where you live? And we can all get together and say, "Hey, look, why don't we stop this?" Back then, I had complained about rebuilding Niskayuna to a place where it was more feasible to live in and things like that. Well, the lady was talking about taxes. My taxes keep going up, but I can't sell my house. It's totally ridiculous. I have people that I have talked to in the neighborhood, and I ask them, "What do you think needs to be done?" Well, the police need to do their job. Well, the police can only do their job if you tell them to do their job. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know if you're in charge of the police department. Are you?
We have Sharon that, Councilman McPartlin and I
That's my
do.
committee.
Okay. And what I'm trying to do is when I talk to the police department, and I'm not turning in any policemen, but they said, "Well, we have a problem on Dean Street. We have a problem on Rosa Road. We have a problem on Troy Road. We have a problem on Central Avenue. We have a problem." Then that tells me we have a speeding problem in Niskayuna that's not being addressed. The reason why I say this is Schenectady County Sheriff's Department, if you probably asked them to help patrol Consall Road, being it's a county road, and I had talked to Schenectady County policemen, we'd love to do it. Nothing better. So I asked the state police again, would they have a problem doing it? They have to be invited to do it. So if there's an issue, well, when I lived in Princetown, we had Montgomery County sheriffs, we had Schenectady County sheriffs, we had the state police, we had the Rotterdam police, and you know what they did on a periodic basis? They would tell people, we are going to cut down the speeding in Schenectady County, especially Mariahville Road and Route 30 and things like that. And that's what they did. All of them got together, and in a weekend, they had picked up 152 people for speeding. I think 7 of them were DW, not out of that, but 7 were DWIs. a bunch of infractions that were done. And they said this on TV that they were going to do this. So now if you can get Montgomery County, Schenectady County, Rotterdam Police Department, New York State Police together and say, hey, look, we're going to stop this speeding stuff. People live here. I realize as a town board, you need to get people to come here with businesses and to be able to get fundings and raise taxes or do whatever you need to do. But way back when, there was a man that was running for supervisor, and he told me he was going to straighten it out. And he did. He got the city involved, he got the county involved, he got the town involved, he got the police more involved. And way I understand it now is this, and I'll say this again, when you talk to your police department and they're afraid to pull anybody over on my stretch of the road and St. David's Lane because they're afraid of causing an accident or they may get hit themselves, we have a problem. Not just me. I see people here that I know, and I haven't seen them in quite a few years, but I have a person that she needs to walk. She doesn't want to pay for a gym, and she gets harassed. We've had people, now we have tractor trailers coming down Consall Road, and I try to do the speed limit, but when you have an 18-wheeler humming down your rear end, and you're trying to do the speed limit, and that son of a gun is flashing his lights, beeping his horns, and he's going like this in his mirror. And, you know, I got my blinker on to go into my driveway. Now, I don't know if he wants me to go like Mario Andretti and just zip right in there. I can't do that. They reduced the speed limit, or not reduced it, but they put suggested signs to 20 miles an hour, especially from Taurus Road to St. David's Lane, 20 miles suggested. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go that. And because it says 30 now, it used to be just the safety, you know, suggested. Now, in front of my house, they put a 30-mile-an-hour speed zone, which is a green light to go 45. It's a bad turn. The county has said it is a bad turn. It's a sight problem. Same way on St. David's Lane. I've had people pass me on Consall Road, and if it wasn't for the person coming down over the hill doing the speed limit, all three of us would have been in a very bad accident. I don't want to see a whole bunch of stuff happen again. What I'm trying to do here is maybe make suggestions. If I say it's your fault, I don't mean it's your fault. It's what it is that something needs to be done before someone else dies. There was a young man that died at Blessings Tavern. He used to go up and down Consall Road going 60 miles an hour. When this was brought to people's attention, nobody goes that fast. Well, when he hit Blessings, I think he was going about 65. A man died just down from us. He used to go probably 55 coming down off of the hill. And then he hit the flower shop, dead. Then my daughter's car in our driveway had over $8,000 worth of damage done, rear-ended in our driveway. The person took off. And you know why it happened? Is because he can. He can go that fast. Now, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I understand you were told about this not too long ago. And you have not got back to me on anything.
I don't know what you're referring to, sir. I do know
The
that you
speed
have
limit.
talked to my confidential secretary at length about
Right.
each of these issues. Yes, correct.
And you have not got back to me at all of maybe a game plan on how we can stop this. I've got a suggestion. Make it 20 miles an hour from St. David's Lane to Taurus Road. But they tell me that you can't do that. Why can't you? They did it on the other side of Consall Road, made it 25. And there's no really big bad turns or anything like that. I'm talking about a safety issue. It may be only 100 and some odd people that we're talking about. I was passed on St. David's Lane. I've had Raymore and Flanagan trucks that decide, well, we got a business to do and we'll go 40 miles an hour. Just because it says 30 doesn't mean that the police department can't give out tickets for going 35. Now, I was on jury duty and I was in front of the judge. So after jury duty, I went to the judge and I said, Judge, if somebody, I told him where I lived, and I said, if somebody, a policeman, gave a ticket to someone for going 35 miles an hour on Consall Road, would you stand by it? He said, yes, I would. I said, well, the police department seems to think that there's a leeway. And if you guys are allowing the police department to give a leeway, shame on you.
Sir, let me interject really quickly. We don't allow the police department to give any leeway. And what I would like to do is, as my confidential secretary has suggested to you, is to come to our next Police and Public Safety Committee meeting so that we can discuss this one-on-one. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. That would be wonderful. The next Police and Public Safety Committee meeting that we have is scheduled for,
November 5th
thank you, Bill.
Isn't that election day?
is 8
Yes,
a.m.
we'll be there.
8 o'clock.
All right.
8 a.m. right here upstairs.
Okay, my thing also is I'm really tired of getting, I used to work in the police barracks for this park police, and I listen to what goes on. And I used to talk to them, and I'd say to them, you know, what can I do? And they would tell me, just off the cuff, stop fast. I said, I'm going to be dead. He says, well, you've got a choice. Move, stop fast, or go to the town board, which I did way back when. And it's like voice, mouth service. Yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. I see the police department yesterday follow a guy, never gave him a ticket. I know he was going over 30 miles an hour. Matter of fact, the police officer was going over 30 miles an hour. And what do we do as people who live there, see it happening day after day after day after day? You people are running for office. I think you are too, right? You?
I am.
You?
Sir, this is the first I'm hearing your story, and I just want to say how sorry I am. A parent should never have to go through what you've gone through, and I'm sure that Councilman McPartlin is going to put this issue on his next meeting for public safety and coordinate with the county. So please do come to that meeting.
I understand you were talked to about it.
Consall Road?
Yeah.
Not recently, I wasn't spoken to about Consall Road or got any emails about Consall Road.
But as a town board member, have you ever driven down Consall Road?
Absolutely.
Do you find a problem there?
I try to go to speed limit and.
And what happens? You
I
get the
haven't
guy
had
behind
anybody
you beeping
specifically
your horn,
behind me.
flashing your lights and giving you the finger and
I have not experienced that, and I feel badly that you have experienced that. I
I've
have
been
experienced
threatened.
that in other places, though. I know exactly what you're speaking about, not on Consall Road, but in other places.
I've been threatened. I pulled in my driveway. The guy stopped and he said, if you do that again, I'll blow your head off. Now, what am I supposed to do? Call the police department? They're afraid to
Yes.
even come on Consall Road.
No, you're supposed to call the police department.
Oh, they'll come on Consall Road in that instance, but when I ask them to come there to do the law, it's your people that are saying to them, because they don't have the equipment, they don't have the manpower, they don't have, why can't you have a traffic and safety officer that,
That's something we're working on right now, to have one specific traffic car force.
How long has that been in the works?
The chief's right there. If you want to come to our committee meeting, I think you can come to the committee meeting and we can discuss these things at that committee meeting. It
Oh,
might be a better forum. It's not a lot of back and forth. We have other people that might want to speak.
oh, I
Please.
didn't see a whole line behind me, but I
Some
was
people-
told that I didn't have to, okay. But my thing is I want the town board to do something. I don't want to be getting it's very difficult to have to live there, to pay the taxes I'm paying, and to be told that there's nothing that can be done. You tell me that it is. I'll go to this meeting, and then I'll be at the next public meeting to see what happens. You can tell me that all these things are going on. Like I said, I worked in the state park police building, and I listened to the chitter chatter of, matter of fact, one of your sergeants used to work there. I don't know if she still does. But she's one of the ones that told me she was afraid to pull someone over. I asked I'm going for solutions here. Have someone park across from my house. Just sit there. Don't even pull anybody over. But if they started giving out tickets for going 35 miles an hour, the word of mouth is the best publicity. But if you guys would start a campaign and say, hey, look, in Niskayuna, we will not allow speeding whatsoever. No tolerance on certain roads, on certain areas, and things like that. If Rosa Road is a problem, and you keep saying this forum, but I've been here for 10 months, I haven't heard anything that you guys are trying to do. Now, if she's saying about gridlock, why is there gridlock? This is a public thing. It's not who makes this, does this decision. I just want to live out the rest of my life without having to be afraid to pull out of my driveway and have some idiot come down the hill going 45 miles an hour, slam into me, and then I get told it's my fault because I was coming out into traffic. I live across the street where there's a stop sign. I get people coming down the stop sign, stop at the stop sign. No, they don't. I pulled a lady over in Hannaford's and I asked her, why didn't you stop at that stop sign? She said, what are you, nuts? The way the people come down the hill here? I said, well, how would you think I was trying to get out of my driveway and you would not allow me to because you didn't go by the law? She said, well, I'm not going to kill myself. And I would say 85% of the people that are speeding on Consall Road, they don't live in the area. It's a thoroughfare. And the reason why they go as fast as they do, I'm going to say it again, it's because they can. And I appreciate you, and I'll try my best to be there November
Very good.
1st.
But we also
November.
post all the meetings online, and if you want, you can contact me by email through the town website. Give me your contact numbers.
I'm 69 years old. You know how I turn on the computer? On Farm and Garden, Craigslist. I bought a snowblower off of Craigslist. First time I've had to buy a snowblower. But I'm just saying, if I can get maybe I can get it from the town clerk. She's pretty good. I call her up, this person, she's right there. She's with it. I appreciate you listening to me. And once again, I'll try to be there and
Okay.
hopefully something will be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. It's getting past my bedtime, so I better hurry up. Lorene Zabin, 2455 Brookshire Drive. It's been quite an evening as far as privilege of the floor, which tells me that the town board meeting is the place to be. If you have something that is concerning you, but actually, it concerns the whole town. Those of us that have lived here a long, long time, not that I was born here, but I've lived here over 40 some odd years. Same house, taxes going up, a ridiculous assessment. It is not a mega mansion. It's not one of the ones that are now visibly for sale. And I can understand that, but that's another. This is an article that was in the paper about a public hearing. I don't know whether it was a public hearing or not, concerning the Knott Street project. My problem is that the town has not really entered into any conversation about it. We've heard from the county. They've managed to secure quite an interesting financial grant to change something that who asked for the change. There has not been an unusual amount of traffic concerns as far as accidents, as far as deaths, as far as anything. It's been a well-managed, I would say, landmark. It was there when I came here. We have little businesses there with people that live here, work here. And it's wonderful. They know your name. You go into the shops, the little liquor store, the gift shop, unfortunately, has come on hard times. But that other little shop that I love, the guy that owns Ambitions, I mean, with the computer, those are wonderful little things. We've had people talk to those running for reelection about little shops, and we have them. We've had them for years. We have vacancies over in Mohawk Commons and Mansion Square. Big, big things. As a matter of fact, I can remember holding signs up about Mansion Square, thinking that was a horrible thing. I don't know whether any of you were involved in that one or not, but it was terrible. Anyway, my point is that I would like to hear what the town board, instead of saying, oh, it's a county. Well, we're part of the county. We pay huge county taxes. We get very little in return. And as someone was outlining, the amount of return we get on our dollar is insignificant. And we are the highest assessed, the highest tax payer in not only the five towns or the towns in the county, but in other areas of affluent New York State towns. Not that we care about it, but we live here and we are an affluent town. And I see no reason why we need every bell and whistle like bonding, splash parks. That doesn't sound like a necessity to me. It sounds like a frill. It sounds like something we're going to pay for 20 years in interest. This is town board's responsibility. Okay. So we're going to have an interruption of our little Niskayuna co-op area, and businesses will probably have to close. We have a very unique drugstore over there. They deliver. The seniors are very pleased with that pharmacy. We've had things come and go, as that's natural. But I would love to know individually why you can't speak up to your county political allies and say, why are you doing this to us? You have already put in a roundabout down on River Road and Rosendale Road without even thinking about the fact that that was a passageway for the Indians to go to the Mohawk River. Did we do an environmental assessment of what might be there? No. The county. Well, I live in the town. And I don't think that you put up enough of a fight to let the county know where you stand. I'd like to know where you stand. Okay. The next thing is, and this has to do with the senior center. I was absolutely amazed coming to candidates night that there has been talk about the possibility of a new senior center. Well, I'm not saying we don't need it, but I am saying that the senior center facility has been neglected because of, let's say, an undue amount of money going into keeping our swimming pool alive and mended. And every year, we put in thousands of dollars to keep that swimming pool open. Now, look, are we so frustrated we can't say, hey, wait a minute, we need a new pool? That might be interesting. Maybe we should say, we knew a new parking area. The 10 parking areas that we have across from the entrance to the senior center, and then the little stairs and the plateau for the convenience of the swimmers, doesn't help me as a senior who has a hard time parking down there. And frankly, I don't go there that much. Now, we did have a candidate, and I'm not getting into this, say that the programs have been expanded and there was credit taken for this. We have a 2-day-a-week program with lunch. The other days are sponsored by health concerns. NVP has an exercise class. So I think there's CD, PH, whatever, they have an exercise class. We have people come in from various clinics. We have a doctor coming in for hearing aids. These are not necessarily connected to the senior program. You're invited to go. There's no lunch. We have had numerous senior directors. Some have been very equipped to do the job. Some have had no credibility whatsoever, and I don't think you were chairman at the time, but the fact was that it was used as a political football, not only in hiring, but it was also in programming. We have a 17-passenger bus for the seniors. Now, I guarantee you, if they come out with a program or a trip and you call, oh, you'll have to go on a waiting list. Now, when Frankie Gavin was supervisor or superintendent of highways, he did not want you to get such a small bus. Or he wanted you to get 2 different kinds of buses. Or he wanted to have a program where if we're having a wonderful trip and we had a lot of people that wanted to go, we would hire a bus. But the powers that be said, oh, no, they don't want to pay, excuse me, they don't want to pay more for the bus. Okay. These are problems that we have now. I understand this gentleman's problem. I live on a street, Brookshire Drive. It goes from Pierce Road to St. David's. I would love a plainclothes policeman and unmarked car to sit in my driveway and watch the traffic. Because it is used as a cut-through. I'm delighted I don't have small children. There's no such thing. I've almost had my mailbox knocked down, which sits on the road, as all of ours do, mostly. And they go speeding up the road. Or they go speeding down across the street on the other side of the road. And I'm thinking to myself, don't we have a 15 mile an hour, or isn't that a normal street speed limit? I don't know. So that is a problem. Okay, the parking at the senior center is terrible. We had 4 acres of land that obviously, after discussing it, we traded it for some property of the school board without people having any say in it. That 4 acres at the head of the circle was part of this property, the Green Family Farm, to maybe have a senior center up there. Now, people tell me that 4 acres wouldn't have been enough, so we live with that. The other thing I don't want to live with is the fact that someone in some of the propaganda in our silly season of re-elections or elections, they say that that we have the best qualified people. And in some cases, that's true. And in some cases, we really don't know if we have the best qualified people because we don't always advertise. I really think that when we have a high visible job, head of a department, up for hiring due to a retirement or whatever, I think that we should be notified of that. We shouldn't just appoint someone. I'm not going to go into the title. You know what I'm talking about. But I think that you should reverse some of your personal concerns as to who should get jobs to what is the responsibility of the town board. The town board, you know, when I went to the candidates night, and I have to tell you, not one of you, not either side, either said what they wanted to do for the town. All we heard about is your wonderful resumes. We heard about your education and your families. Well, what does that qualify you for? You're just a nice guy, terrific neighbor. What do you want to bring to this town? Sanity, fiscal responsibility, cooperation? I'm getting a little discouraged with the town board. And I do have to tell you, I'm sorry about a lot of the personal problems that you board members have, losses, illness, and that really makes me very sad. But we live in a town of 22,000 people, and all we're doing is building apartments. Now, we do have this Amador thing going up. It's going to cause tremendous traffic on Balltown Road. Not even a traffic light has been put in with all the other arrangements we're doing over there. You have Whitmire Drive. Have you ever driven down Whitmire Drive? The homes are beautiful down there, beautiful land. And you're putting, what happened to all the bonding money that we have paid over the years to improve that sanitation field and the what? Where does it go? And all you do is tell us how, gee, we dropped the taxes 2%. I think you have a lot to be questioned about, and you have a lot to think about. I'm not really happy with what we're doing here. And it's time to leave. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
I'll be brief and to the point. Kathy Lange, 2873 Whitmire Drive. On Wednesday, October 9th, at about 10:30 a.m., I was driving my Buick Encore, which is less than 6 feet wide, on Whitmire Drive, traveling toward River Road. As I made the 90-degree turn, I could see a very large blue and white vac truck approaching from the opposite direction. It was traveling down the center of the road, well over the 10-mile-per-hour speed limit. I was hugging the right side of the road, but the truck was partially into my lane. I actually had to pull off the road into the driveway opening at 2833 Whitmire and stop. I could not continue to move forward, or I would have hit the mailbox at 2833, which was actually hit a couple of weeks earlier. I waited for the truck to pass. As it did, The driver looked down at me, seemingly amused by my predicament. I wanted to turn around and drive down to the plant to discuss the incident with a manager, but was unable to do so at that time because I had to return to work and punch a clock. I did, however, go to the plant the next day, October 10th, to report the incident. I knocked on doors, observed several vehicles in the parking lot, but was unable to locate anyone there, so I left. As I've said before, I think I have the right to drive down my street in my own traffic lane without fear of being hit by an oncoming truck. Allowing huge tanker trucks that are too large to safely proceed down that narrow road is a recipe for disaster, which I have said before. And I'm tired of coming here with the same complaint over and over and over. Why don't you care about the safety of the tax-paying residents who live on Whitmire Drive? Why are we treated like second-class citizens? At a recent town meeting, Denise Murphy McGraw said, and this is a quote, "All we have is our homes. The greatest single thing of value we have is our home. And it's my job and all of ours up here as elected officials to ensure and maintain the value of each and every one of your homes, no matter where you live. And so I ask you all this, what have you done to the value of my home?" I think you all know the answer to that. You've destroyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leslie Gold, 1919 Pawtucket Avenue. At the most recent budget workshop Monday morning, 8 a.m., the town controller said that he believes there has never been an increase in the yard waste fee. My recollection is quite different. My recollection is that it began at $30 a year. Regardless of my recollection, that data should be readily available to the controller. And I have a concern about what's included on page 15 of the latest rendition of the soon-to-be tentative or preliminary budget, where there's a whole big collection of yard waste disposal. I've looked, I don't see the fall brush and leaf pickups separated out. So I have to assume that this includes both the weekly, for which a number of us are paying, I believe it's now $45 a year. And those falls pickups are all in there in a jumble. And that the controller is actually trying to prorate it all back on those of us who pay for the weekly pickup. That's inappropriate. And if it is a separate, I'd like to know where it is. Regardless, the institution of the yard waste fee, I was told at the time, was to keep within the tax cap. It was not the intent to capture it wholly by those who pay the fee, because the fact is everybody benefits from their neighbors keeping their yards kept up. And in fact, some neighbors have been known to deposit some of their yard waste in with their neighbors who do pay for it. Hard to catch them, but when you see things you know you didn't put in your yard waste, you know somebody else put something in. And it does happen. So, you know, if it might be time, it's been a few years since we've had an increase, but my recollection is that we were doing a $5 increase every year for several years. And with no explanation, and that's very frustrating. I want to see a balanced budget that's accurate. I don't want one group singled out to pay for other people's expenses. The fact is we all pay a lot, some more than others, but some of us could still take advantage of salt. We're not at the limit. When you put what would normally be a tax into a fee structure instead, you're saying we don't even have a chance to recoup some of that back on our taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Hess. I live at 117 Comanche Trail. First, I'd like to thank Linda Rizzo for her kind words and assure the rest of you that we just met this evening. She mentions that she hates it when people mention Trump in the context of local elections or local politics. but I do want to mention Trump briefly, and I promise that I will make it relevant. After Donald Trump was elected, many First Amendment scholars raised concerns about his Twitter account and his penchant for blocking individuals who are critical of his policies. As a result, Trump's Twitter account was challenged in court, and earlier this year, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals addressed the issue. The Second Circuit ruled that excluding people from an otherwise open online dialogue constitutes viewpoint discrimination in violation of the First Amendment. This same type of online viewpoint discrimination is happening here in Niskayuna. Since the town does not maintain a Facebook page and the town's website is not interactive, Councilwoman McGraw is filling this communication void by maintaining a Facebook page called Niski News. Like all Facebook pages, the Niski News page is interactive. This type of interactive forum could actually be really beneficial if it were used to promote an open discussion of town issues. The problem is that not everyone can participate on it because some residents have been blocked from being a member of the private Facebook page. Two of the town residents who are blocked from Niski News retained counsel to address this legal issue with the town board. With permission of those two aggrieved residents and consistent with the new town policy not to accept written submissions, I'm going to read the letter from attorney Kevin Louisbrand to the town board dated September 26, 2019. Dear Town Supervisor Syed and town board members, our office represents Stacy Lampman and Linnell Engelmeyer. Each are residents of the town of Niskayuna, New York. Town board member Denise Murphy McGraw maintains a Facebook account titled Niski News that is used for official notifications regarding town public events and activities. The account is used to publicize town events and as a forum for residents to register their opinions, thoughts, and concerns about town matters. Ms. McGraw has limited residents who she will allow access to the forum. Specifically, she has set up an account such that a person needs to apply to be allowed access to the public information that she posts. In the circumstance where residents seeking access may have opinions adverse to those of Ms. McGraw as a town board official, they are blocked or not permitted access to the public forum and information. Specifically, opponents of Ms. McGraw's opinions are denied access to their First Amendment right to express their opinion on the public forum. Two of those individuals who have been blocked are Ms. Lampman and Ms. Engelmeyer. The decision to limit access to the public forum constitutes a denial of the above's New York State constitutional rights and their U.S. constitutional First Amendment rights. The conduct is a restraint of free speech in violation of law. Please accept this request that the town direct this forum be made open to all and that all be permitted access both for receiving public information and for participating in publications on the forum. We have diaried October 4th, 2019 as the deadline to recognize the freedom of speech rights of these individuals and to ensure that those rights not be foreclosed by public officials of the town of Niskayuna. Signed, very truly yours, Louisbrand Law Firm, PLLC, by Kevin A. Louisbrand, Esquire. To my knowledge, the town has not yet responded to Mr. Louisbrand's letter.
Let me address that. I called Attorney Louisbrand, left him a voicemail, and he's not responded to me.
Okay. Thank you for bringing me up to speed on that. Here's what I would say. If you're a sitting board member, or you're running in the upcoming election, or you're a member of the Niskayuna Democratic Committee, and you're thinking that the Niskayu's Facebook page is just Councilwoman McGraw's problem and not yours, I would like to point out that many residents like me think that the Facebook page is part of a broader pattern of behavior to keep the public in the dark. This behavior goes hand in hand with making decisions on town business in political caucuses instead of in open meetings. It goes hand in hand with trying to sanitize the public record by not approving meeting minutes where public comments have been made critical of certain board members. And it goes hand in hand with attempts to delay compliance with FOIL requests until after the election. The town's focus should be on maintaining an open political process because quashing dissent and limiting discussion leads to bad decisions. The importance of maintaining an open political process means that sometimes we need to stand up and call out bad behavior regardless of political party. At the federal level, I'm incredibly frustrated with moderate Republicans who allow themselves to be bullied by Donald Trump. At the town level, I have the same frustration with Democrats.
Thank you.
Kevin Walsh, 2843 Whitmire Drive. And I'd like to mention that I'm the town of Niskayuna Planning Board Chairman, but I'm here not speaking as chairman. I'm speaking as a 25-year tax-paying resident of Whitmire Drive. I'm concerned about the $530,000 that was budgeted in the tentative budget, and I was handed the preliminary budget tonight, and I see that it's still there. And I appreciate getting a copy of the budget at this meeting, but I'm concerned about that dollar amount. That dollar amount directly correlates to the amount of traffic, amount of trucks that come down Whitmire Drive, or the size of the trucks that come down Whitmire Drive. So I have a concern with that. The larger the trucks, the number of trucks, decreases my quality of life and impacts my investment, my 25-year investment of my property on Whitmire Drive. So I ask, as you go forward with the budget, please consider that. You heard a lot tonight from my neighbors. I got a little bit of a different view, but I understand, but I still say you need to decrease the amount that your line item is, and you need to look at the highest density waste, as I heard, because I did watch the budget meeting online, so that you can minimize the trucks. So take every effort to minimize the impact on the neighborhood. I would really appreciate that. And I'm always available to meet, to help out, not just talk about. I'm willing to volunteer to help out. So please don't balance the books of SOAR District 6 on the 8 homes on Whitmire Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
Been sitting so long I can hardly stand. Bill Popino, 1027 Hickory Road. I'd like to compliment the highway department for their pickup of my 6 bags of pine needles. It was on a Thursday, which is their day. And it was windy. I had to tie the bags together to keep them from blowing over. It was rainy, and I just want to thank them very much, the highway department, for picking them up when they were scheduled to pick them up. I also want to compliment the police department. I think they do a fine job. They don't over-police. I don't know whether you have one of these signs that show speed and blinking lights when you're over speed, but that kind of a device moved around at various places might help you a little bit to detect for sure and prove that speeding is happening and how much and all that kind of thing. So buying one of those little signs that are up there and moving it around might be a nice idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
Joseph Herrer, 2053 Lexington Parkway. Amy Hawansky, I'm going to talk about the trucks in town, the large trucks that you guys are commissioned to come in through town. Amy covered a lot of it. I have a different slant on it, somewhat different. I'm looking at the town budget. I'm looking at the town debt, and the ratio of debt to budget is about 3 times. You have about $48 million in debt. Most of it has been accumulated from the District 6 wastewater treatment plant rehab. And you have $15.8 million in a budget. But the amount of debt that you have is you're going to have a lot of interest and principal payments going forward for the next 25 years. And it's going to take a big bite out of what you can do going forward. So you came up with this idea that you would have this company, Energy Savings Group, go out around the capital region and try to scout out some businesses that have waste material. Pepsi is the first one, and that they would bring the waste material to the two anaerobic digesters at the wastewater treatment plant, and they would generate a biogas, which is half methane, half CO2. And you'd use the methane to keep the temperature going at that bio device there, the anaerobic digesters, and whatever you had left over, you would run a generator, and you would generate electricity. Supposedly, if you get enough of this biogas generated, you can save maybe $90 in natural gas and electric bills that you get. So you would be what you call energy neutral or whatever, zero energy. So anyway, so the thinking is now that you're going to bring batches of Pepsi in from Latham in 5,000 gallon batches. Now the anaerobic digesters have a 50-gallon daily capacity to take 50,000 gallons each day. So you're not saying it, but I calculate that you can bring in 10. Those digesters will take 10 deliveries a day, which means that 20 trucks will go down Whitmire Drive, 10 in, 10 out. 20 trucks will go up and down Balltown Road, 10 up, 10 down. And those are two areas that are going to be impacted. Balltown Road is a mess now. Between the hours of 10 and 2, you plan to run these 20 trucks. A truck will go by every 12 minutes. From 10 to 2, from 10 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, that's shopping time for a lot of people. I think that will impact the businesses there at ShopRite Plaza and in the co-op area there on Knott Street. A lot of people go in. I know they go into the co-op. They go to the deli there and they get a sandwich. I don't know if you got these really large. Amy pointed them out. They're big. Well, actually, what they are, the trucks will be 36 tons. They will be 55 foot long. They'll have 18 wheels. They're so long that they're semis, so they'll have a tractor-trailer combination and a big tank on them. They will be 10% below what is allowed on New York State roads. The maximum tonnage for a New York State road is 40 tons. These will be 36 tons. What they will do to Whitmire Drive, which a little history of Whitmire Drive in 1953, somebody built a house there way back in the woods. And then 57, somebody else came and built a house right next to it. And then in 1966, the town decided to build a wastewater treatment plant away from those houses. So that's why you shoot in, there's an elbow, and you go down to the wastewater treatment plant. Now that road built on wetlands was built to, maybe you would have a dump truck come in every once in a while, maybe a garbage truck, maybe a vacuum truck would come in. That road was never built for these 40-ton trucks to go down. Those 40-ton trucks will eat up that road in no time. You'll be down there every other year patching that thing up. And of course, the poor people down there, the people on Whitmire Drive bought property there. They bought the peace and quiet. They bought the birds. They bought the state farm, the state park across the road. They'll never build on that state park. I mean, they bought the peace and tranquility. Imagine the peace and tranquility they'll have when these trucks go, 20 trucks go in and out, a truck every 12 minutes, roaring down that 30 miles an hour, roaring down that Whitmire Drive. By the way, that 10-mile sign that you have put up there, just a suggestion, you have no legal right to do that. Nobody has to obey that. The speed limit is 30 miles an hour. All right, so that's Whitmire Drive. Those people are really, really going to pay a lot of money. In the value of their homes, they're really going to, and they're the way they live. Their quality of life is really, they're really going to pay for this, this idea that you have to bring in waste material from all around town, all around the capital district. Oh, by the way, this is a green initiative, all right? So now, how green is it to truck 36 tons of stuff from Latham all the way up Route 7, across Union, all the way up Balltown Road, and come all the way down River Road, and then go into Whitmire Drive? How much energy do you use, and how much fossil fuel? My goodness, how much fossil fuel do you use to transport 36 tons that distance, which I think the round trip would be about 22 miles? You know, you might be better off just taking the diesel fuel and just put it into a diesel engine down there and generate your electricity that way. You know, you think that this is a really green idea, but it's not that green when you think about it. Now, on Balltown Road is a mess. I live on Lexington Parkway. Every time Balltown Road gets backed up, these people have their GPS. It tells them, shoot down Lexington Parkway, go down to Dean, go Regent. There are cars all the time shooting through Old Niskayuna. Those people now, this happens in the morning and in the evening. Now those people will have to deal with that in the late morning and early noon. So they're paying in the aggravation of this. People on Balltown Road will pay because of the traffic conditions. The people that have businesses in ShopRite Plaza and around the co-op, they'll pay. They'll have loss of sales because people won't go to their businesses if Balltown Road is impassable. And it will be impassable if you got 20 trucks running up and down that road for 4 hours a day, a truck every 12 minutes. So those people will be paying. Now, what are the people in sewer system 6 paying? Are they going to have a fee increase? Because the people on Old Niskayuna, around Balltown Road, people on Route 7, they're paying. People on Whitmire Drive, they're really paying. They are really paying for this with these trucks. What are the people in sewer system 6 paying? Because if Schenectady says to the people in sewer system 1, and they're in Old Niskayuna, if Schenectady says, we're going to upgrade our sewage system, and you have to pay for it, you're using it, you have to pay for it. What are the people in sewer system 6 paying? Are they getting an increase, a fee increase? Are they going to partake in this? Or are you going to say to the people down at Whitmire Drive, hey, you're just a small bunch of people, you're only 8 families, you're not a big voting bloc, you can pay. Or the people in Old Niskayuna, you're not as big as the voting bloc in sewer system 6, you can pay. So what are the people in Source System 6 paying? Shouldn't there be some equanimity here? Or do the people on Woodmire Drive and Old Niskayuna, do they pay?
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak. And last call on privilege of the floor. If you would like to speak, do so now. Okay, seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm now going to close privilege of the floor. We're going to move on to committee reports. We're going to begin with Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. We seem to have spoken about a very wide range of topics tonight. What I did by asking the attorney before to share the opinion on the minutes was not to say that we've adopted a change, but just to share some of the issues that we had been thinking about and to share what the opinion was in the issue of transparency. Also, the complete video of these board meetings can be seen on YouTube, can be seen on Open Stage Media in its completion. So I just wanted to reiterate that fact. When I don't know something, I always ask for a legal opinion. I've done it more than once. Ms. Lampman came to me over the summer about Niskayuna News, and I asked Attorney Briggs for a legal opinion, so there's a legal opinion on that if anybody is interested. I am filling in with the highway report tonight, as well as water and sewer and community programs, so I will briefly touch on those items in the interest of time. This is from Highway. Yard waste pickup is on a random pickup schedule right now, so leave your cans at the curb and the truck will be around once a week with no set schedule. Loose leaf pickup will begin next week in Zone 1. The schedule is posted on the town website. Please don't put sticks and brush in your leaf piles, or the crews will not be able to pick them up. If you see the trucks out this week, it doesn't mean that you missed the leaf pickup. The crews are trying their equipment out. Crews are out right now trimming trees and grinding stumps before the cold weather sets in. Other crews are out working on the tree replacement list. From water and sewer, we're appointing a new maintenance worker in the water and sewer department. Crews are performing seasonal maintenance on equipment in preparation for the cold weather in that department as well. Earlier this month, we had a successful TV and recycling paper shredding event. Earlier in October, volunteers collected more than 70 TVs and nearly filled the paper shredding truck. Moving on to community programs, which is the committee that I chair. There's been some interest in our farmers market. Last month, we wrapped up the trial run of the farmers market and discussions are underway for next season. The farmers market committee has been asked to consider more market days and longer shopping hours. We're considering those things as well as any location issues that may arise from any potential county construction project that may occur. I know that's still something that is being considered. We presented a resolution to the participants of our art out that was very successful. I just want to mention quickly that we have one of our favorite community events happening here this weekend. Our Halloween parade for young children is Sunday, October 27th, 3:30 to 4:30 at Town Hall. Cider and donuts will be served. We're asking that people bring a canned good for the food pantry. Very quickly, Parents' Night Out is December 6th for kids age 4 to 10. It's from 6 to 9. Registration is open right now. We ask that you pre-register. We only have 36 slots for this event. The price of admission is an unwrapped toy for Toys for Tots. The event does fill quickly. The kids watch a movie, they do a craft, they have a great time. You can go and do some shopping yourself, have dinner. Then 2 days after that, we have our town holiday tree lighting from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on December 8th with the high school choir performing. Also this weekend from our senior center, where we do have a diversity of programming, not just our lunch days, but weekend programming for special events as well, like our defensive driving class we have this Sunday, October 27th. There are some flyers in the lobby for that. A Halloween party the morning of October 31st. All are welcome to that. We had a home and health fair last week. Thanks to everyone who participated in that. Our next meeting for community programs is October 29th at 3 in the Schaefer Room. All are welcome.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilman Delarada.
Thank you, Supervisor. As you know, I chair the Economic Development and Historical Committee. However, I have been out of town due to a family emergency, so Miss Murphy McGraw has been chairing that committee for me. So I do want to thank her for that. I would like to welcome 3 new businesses to our town. Mathnasium and Empire Asset Management will be moving into the ShopRite Plaza, and Bodywork Professionals was approved to take over the old Harding Law Firm building. So it's very exciting to see these vacant commercial spaces being filled, and we certainly look forward to the success of these new businesses. The Planning Board is working on finalizing an application for a Chase Bank to replace the Ruby Tuesdays building in Mohawk Commons. As many of you know, that has been vacant for several years now. They have finalized, also the Planning Board has finalized the Harmon Grove subdivision, which is also on the agenda for road acceptance tonight. That's one of the resolutions that we'll be voting on. So we look forward to new homes going up in a brand new community behind the Schwaber Drive off of Balltown Road. The Tree Council is working on a fall planting to replace the trees that were removed by National Grid on Ray and Cornelia Streets. They've staked out locations and are working with residents to restore some greenery to that block. That will certainly be a welcome addition. The Highway Department has been crucial to the success of this event, and the Economic Development Historical Committee would certainly would like to very much acknowledge and thank them. They do a lot of work. That is one of the many things that the Highway Department does that we don't really realize, as well as all the things that they do with cleanup and road repair. Additional trees are also being planted on Lexington Avenue. Our next committee meeting will be held Friday, November 1st. That's at 8:15. It's generally held on the first Friday of the month, right here at the Town Hall in the Schaefer Room. And that's at 8:15 a.m., Friday, November 1st. All are welcome and encouraged to come. Just briefly regarding some of the privilege of the floor comments, I do know there's been a lot of talk about the minutes, and some people seem to think that we're sanitizing the meetings from public comments. That's certainly not the case. As you all know, these meetings are on YouTube and open stage media. So everything that is said and done here at these town hall meetings is recorded and is available to the public. We try to be as transparent as possible, which is why we have these meetings on open stage media and as well as YouTube. As far as one member mentioned gridlock, I'm not sure what she's referring to. I don't know of any legislation that was held up or was voted no on or did not pass through some type of gridlock reason. I think the town board and the supervisor have been working very cooperatively over the past 2 years. We have a preliminary budget that we will be talking about tonight and moving towards a public hearing on that. Of course, this will not be the budget, certainly not going to be the final budget. There are many things that the board has to go over with together amongst themselves and with the supervisor to make sure that the numbers in that budget are up to par and don't result in a tax increase and hopefully even result in another tax decrease. That's certainly something that we want to strive for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now moving on to Councilman McPartlin.
Thank you, Supervisor. I chair the Town Police Public and Safety Committee. We met on October 1st. Operationally, we discussed the sergeant promotion, which you saw this evening here at the town board meeting of now Sergeant Party. We discussed raise the age and the qualifications that the new law that will raise the age and the discovery of documentation for any arrest that happens here in the town and what impact that will have on our police department. We also discussed alarm monitoring. The town has a very old piece of equipment at the UCC that monitors alarms for the residents in the town. And there's a discussion that's being started about whether the town really wants to continue to do that or not. That was also discussed at our meeting. We discussed our fleet and equipment. We got some new radios. And now our wireless downloading of the camera information in the cars. So when they pull in here close to town hall, the information automatically wirelessly downloads. Building issues. We had our town clerk with us at our meeting because we needed to discuss the security issues with the early voting. Early voting will begin October 26th. You can check the town website and the county Board of Elections website. There'll be early voting, and so there's security that we have to have in the boardroom for those days. Training, complete traffic stops. Patrolman Robertson and Henry attended those on October 8th and 9th. Forensic interviewing techniques was attended by John O'Connor. Citizen issues, we discussed this at every single meeting. Speed complaints, nuisance complaints, any complaints that the residents bring to us. And when we have those concerns from the residents, we discuss them at the meeting. We decide how best to deploy our resources. The chief and the deputy chief will put out our traffic and speed analysis. They will increase patrols in areas where they see necessary, and those are always discussed at our committee meetings. Community events, we had the Birchwood Fun Run on the 5th. Mohawk Hudson Marathon was discussed. That was on the 13th of October. Town code. Can't believe I'm saying this already, but November 1st, winter parking rules go into effect in the town. So winter parking rules, November 1st. Court issues, that again, we had one of the justices with us, raise the age, bail and discovery rules, those were discussed, and computers and equipment that's going to be needed to handle those issues. The fire chief was there. The Fire District 1 and 2 Halloween party at Fire District Station 1 on Balltown Road, October 26th. We discussed the school district. I believe the chief went to a meeting October 2nd there for a district safety meeting. And we have one recruit in the academy who's doing excellent. And that is it for my report. Our next meeting, as I said earlier in the evening, is November 5th at 8 a.m.
Great. Thank you very much. Since we're heading well into 9 o'clock, I'm going to keep my supervisor's message very brief. I'm going to give a budget update. So we have completed 4 budget workshops. We continue to work together towards our final budget. So just timing wise, this evening we'll be passing a resolution to call for the public hearing on the preliminary budget. That's this document that's been furnished at the back of the room. We can also email it out to anybody if they would like a copy. The preliminary budget public hearing is going to take place Thursday, November 7th at 7 p.m. here in the town boardroom. So that really is an opportunity for everybody to share their opinions on the preliminary budget that we have come up with. If you can't make it to the public hearing, please reach out to any one of us, myself. All of our email addresses are available on the town website. So please take a moment. If you do have any comments, we really, we read all of our comments and we appreciate the time and the effort that any of you take into giving us feedback. Passage of the final budget will take place on November 19th. So that concludes my very brief supervisor's message. We're now going to move on to our resolution sections. Now we've already passed 2019-259. So we're going to begin with 2019-260, and this is a ceremonial resolution. It is for our former town assessor. She's not here with us tonight. However, we're still going to pass the resolution. So if the clerk could please read.
A ceremonial resolution thanking Amy Houlihan for her many years of dedicated service to the town of Niskuna.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I had the privilege of working with Amy Houlihan when I was on the Board of Assessment Review for several years before joining this town board, and I enjoyed my experience on the Board of Assessment Review. She was always very professional, always had the interest of the taxpayer in mind. I wish her well in her retirement, and I thank her for her service to the town, which lasted many, many years.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-261, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to call for a public hearing on the preliminary budget of the town of Niskuna for 2020.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I just would like to reiterate again to the people that are reviewing this, it's only a preliminary budget. It is certainly not the final budget. I know that there were several questions after the workshops and the board members have been discussing along with the supervisor to make sure that there's not an increase in the yard waste fee, to try to make sure that any income that or revenue that we're allocating towards the contracts with the wastewater treatment program are realistic and not overinflated, so we don't have a hole in our budget. There's also several other things, but those are certainly two of the most important things. So please do appear at the meeting that we're going to have to discuss the budget for the preliminary budget. We certainly do want to hear and need your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments?
Yes, because I ask for legal opinion on everything, we have to vote on this preliminary budget tonight, even if, time-wise, even if we are not comfortable with everything that is in it, or a lot of things that are in it. If Alexis would like to explain why, because of case law, go up to the microphone so it can be recorded.
So it's just statute, it's town law, section 108. It requires that the preliminary budget public hearing be held on the Thursday following Election Day. Based on the notice requirements, that means tonight the town board needs to adopt the preliminary budget so that can be filed for inspection. Between now, assuming that the resolution is voted on and passed, and November 7th, no changes can be made to that preliminary budget. So the document that you could pick up at the door, that will remain intact until November 7th. Following November 7th's public hearing, the town board then has authority between November 8th and November 20th to make it revisions, modify it, and then adopt it. If the town board were to not approve the preliminary budget tonight, that would lead to non-compliance with section 108 of town law, which would mean that by default and operation of the law, the tentative budget would now become the essential final budget that we would have to use going forward. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Even if we don't particularly like this preliminary budget, we have to vote for it to have the hearing, or else the tentative budget, which we like even less, will be the budget that'll take place. So so that's the reason why I'm voting yes on this budget, even though there are a lot of issues with this budget. This last copy that we got that reflects, I believe, some of the or all of the changes that were incorporated from yesterday morning's workshop. We only got it at 6:15 p.m. for a 7 o'clock meeting. So I'm not really comfortable with it, but as the attorney explained, I have to vote yes to be in compliance with the law.
Thank you. Are there any further comments?
Yeah, I just want to echo what my other council member said. We just got this very late this evening, And if any of you have watched or participated in any of budget meetings, you know how we're going through this very carefully, and we're continuing that process. But as Alexis said, it's necessary for us to pass this preliminarily tonight so that we continue our process to work on our final budget.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-262, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the auction and sale of 4 surplus vehicles.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-263, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the purchase of a truck from Onondaga bid 7974 for use by the Highway Department.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-264, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the town board to execute an outside user sewer agreement on behalf of Consolidated Sewer District Number 1.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-265, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize payment to Schultz Construction for emergency sewer line repair services.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-266, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to award a contract to pave Tridingham Drive.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-267, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to employ a maintenance worker in the Water and Sewer Department.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-268, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to award a contract to Sterling Environmental Engineering, PC, to perform landfill monitoring services.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-269, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to award a contract to Midstate Industries LTD for installation of roofs.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-270, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to approve reconciliation of corporate utility billing for the second quarter 2019.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-271, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to make certain budgetary modifications.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Already passed Resolution 2019-272 earlier this evening, so we're going to skip to 2019-273, sponsored by Councilman Delarada and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to accept certain streets within Harmon Grove by Amador Homes.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now adjourned for the evening. Everybody have a wonderful night, and we'll see you back here for the public hearing.
We had a real quick executive.
Did we have an executive session?